Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. I'm very excited about this interview today. Here with me, I have Derrick Johnson out of Dallas, Texas. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you for having me, man. Hopefully I can fall in line with the millionaires that you've had on this good podcast.
Definitely appreciate that, man. So first, I would love to learn more about what your childhood was like, where you grew up, and also what you saw or maybe what you didn't see that shaped your view of building wealth.
So, man, me growing up in Monroe, Louisiana, it was very violent and very, I guess, playful, you could say at the same time. Being from a place, man, when you're poor, you living under the poverty line, man, playing sports, you really don't realize that you don't have much. So you make do with what you have. I grew up in one of the roughest areas called Kingston and Plantation View, which is not even in existence anymore. But when you talk about the childhood, man, I never really seen entrepreneurship early. But I did know what renting was. But I had a grandmother, man, who she had rental property, and we would have to clean it out. And I hated it. I hated it, man. But growing up, I did see her manage property. So I would say that was my introduction into even understanding what real estate was.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And talk to us more about that. You mentioned you had your grandmother who had rental properties. What was that like as a kid? I guess, as a kid, you're just thinking about, I don't want to clean this place out. But now that you look back, do you think there's anything you learned from her at that time without even realizing it?
Hey, man, my grandmother, Dorothy Blackwell, is the strongest man in my life. That lady taught me work ethic, man. And, she's 90 years old now. So, in the day and time of where she came from, work ethic is unmatched and untested. And to see her get rental properties ready, and it also passed down to her daughter, my aunt, Linda Rayford, who I was able to understand more because I became, prone to it like junior high school. And I seen my aunt, she had 12 properties.
Wow.
So I started understanding more about the business, and I became interested fully when I got to college. But yeah, to see those women, be so strong in what they were doing. And my aunt worked a 9 to 5 at UPS. And so after her days working at UPS, man, she would get off of work and she would then transition into working on her rental property. She loved to fix them up. She still do, man. And she be riding my butt today when I don't do it right, man.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. I think, it says a lot, because as a kid, you a lot of times as a kid, you learn lessons and you see things, and sometimes it doesn't really click until you're older. But I think that exposure is big, man.
It is, man. It is. I can't speak about it enough, like we talked about, man, backtrack, like, just being youthful, man, building wealth is really not talked about in our community. Because, a lot of times, often not, understanding it through therapy, our parents were survivors, man. They didn't have time to be dreamers and thinkers. They just wanted to survive and put food in our stomachs for the next day and, getting school clothes so their kids won't be made fun of. So, I just got to give the blessings and, shouts out to my parents and my grandparents, godmothers, and so forth for allowing us to be dreamers.
Definitely, man. Very cool, man. So I think it's great. I think it's valuable. Though you grew up in circumstances that were challenging, you got a lot poured into you, which I think is amazing. You definitely had a rich childhood in that way, for sure.
For sure.
Definitely. So you mentioned that once you got to college, you started to take on an interest in real estate. So talk to me about that time. When you really got interested, and then I guess thereafter, how did your first purchase happen?
All right, man. So I rolled it into my first purchase. So, man, during college, I played football for Grambling State University. Shout out to the G. But playing football for Grambling, man, and that, when you go to college, you're around intriguing minds, right? You're around acquiring minds. And I started to see my future and where I wanted to go. And I seen my aunt, man, and I'm telling you, I always knew, like, I started coming home and working on them with her. Started painting, trying to hit nails. Didn't even know how to hit a nail into the wood the right way. Still kind of don't. But, just trying to get, into it. And, man, I'll tell you a small story, man. We was getting refunds, man, for those college students out there listening. Man, when I was in college, man, I went to take my refund, my $4,000 or $5,000, and I asked my auntie to buy one side of her duplex. You know, at the time I didn't know you couldn't split, you know, but you know, I just wanted to get into real estate. And so, man, you fast forward that to uh, I made my first single purchase in real estate at about 30. I bought my first home at 29, and I purchased my first property, which was a duplex, at 30.
Got you. Got you. I just want to step back there real quick. Refunds, man. Refunds in college are gold, and it's crazy. I was having a conversation with some friends last week, and we were talking about, you know, you get older, you realize your ways, your the error in your ways. So we're talking, and it's like, man, think about all those refunds that we just tricked
Right.
off and wasted, and bought clothes and drinks and stuff like that. And he was saying, he's like, imagine if we put that money together, we invested in real estate, we invested in stock. So I think I'm happy about the fact that you even tried to do something with it.
I tried, man. I did. I tried, man. And my partner Lamont Woods, man. We set up, you know, so many times, so many hours, man, just dreaming. And when I became an intern at Disney in Florida, man, we went full fledged with the thought and notion of real estate. And you know, he was able to get in there and crack the code, man, and really lay the blueprint and foundation down for us, man, for us to be able to scale and grow. You know, I really turned it into a video game per se. You know, but with my aunt, man, my grandma had one, my auntie had 12, and I got 12 in 1 year. So
Wow.
now it's about 16 or 17, and I'm about to close on some more deals. Like I said earlier, man, I had a big deal, so now I'm trying to get into opening my own property management company.
Amazing, man. Amazing. So walk us through that duplex. What that process was like for you as a first time
Oh man,
home
it
buyer.
was horrible. It was horrible. What are you
Wow.
saying? You know, the first deal was horrible. Sorry if you thought it was gonna be sweet and bees, but
That's what this show's about, man. Being real.
so man, my first duplex, man. So Lamont had introduced me to this guy. I won't say his name, and at the same time, man, to be honest with you, I had bought two duplexes in a matter of maybe like 2 months, a month apart. And so I was looking in Shreveport, Louisiana, because I love the untapped market. Well, it wasn't untapped. It's just I love the market because of the economy. And that's another thing I had to learn economy once I started investing in real estate because I hated politics. But you have to understand politics if you're going to be good or halfway decent at this. But back to it. So I go in, man, and this duplex, man, it needed some work. The flooring, I mean, it needed the whole shebang, even the roofing and things like that. So it needed some things, you know, cosmetic and everything. So what ends up happening, man, I should have paid about 18K for it, all in totality with me going back in because I wanted to burn it. So
Hmm.
I took a gamble and I went ahead and bought it at the price that this cat wanted me to. That's the first and the last time I ever done that and ever will do that. So we got the place appraised, man, and it came back at like 32. No, 26K. Sorry about that. And so I bought it for 26K and then I put like another 10 G's into it, but it only appraised for like 32. So I was under, man. But still today, man, that place cash flows me $700. So my note on that place is about $300 maybe, and I'm getting $500 a door.
That's
So
really good.
it's become my greatest asset.
Definitely. And what I like about that, and we haven't even gotten to anything else yet. What I like about that is, what I like about that is, I try to tell people like the first property, the first deal, and most of the guests we have, the first one is not the moneymaker. The first one usually doesn't go well, but if you stick with it, the lessons you learn can help you, you know, fix maybe whatever is wrong in this particular deal or property and carry it over in the future. So I like the fact that you know, hey, you didn't get at the price you wanted to get it, but you didn't let that stop you. And I think it's very important to not just quit, not just give up when the first deal or a deal, whatever, if it doesn't go your way, because there's always a way out, in my opinion, and there's always more deals, you know.
There
So
you go.
it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and I will say this too, man, for your viewers out there, man, listen to podcasts, guys like you with a stellar podcast. Listen, I listened to over 1,000 hours of podcasts, read all type of books, Bigger Pockets, oh man, Richest Man in Babylon, all type of books before I invested into my first play. You will never be ready. You
I
will
agree.
never be ready. There will never be a perfect time. So if you're sitting on the ledge like, oh, I'm gonna get, it's never gonna happen because the things that happened with me when I bought my first property, I couldn't account for. I didn't know how to property manage. Okay. I didn't understand funds. I was getting the money. I wasn't messing the money off, but I was just sitting on it, meaning I wasn't stepping on it and turning it over. And so I was dealing with anxiety from having tenants. I didn't know what to do because I still work a 9-to-5 job now. So, I'm not leaving my job. So they're calling me throughout the day and I had no type of system, no property management. So I kind of just jumped out there raw, man. So I really had to figure it out. And that's bouncing questions off of guys like Jeremy Taylor, Emmanuel Baker, and Lamont Woods, man, a team of people to really give me the resources to understand what I was doing.
For sure, for sure. And when you made that purchase, were you living in Dallas? Did you do that whole thing long distance, or were you still living over in Louisiana?
I am a long distance landlord till I die, man. And it's because over here in Texas, I will never speak down on this market. It's a great market, but I didn't grow up in this market. And I'm from Louisiana, which is one of the poorest states out of the 51. So that means that the deals are a bit cheaper over there. So I make my money in Dallas, but I invest in the Louisiana market. I'm going to do that for life. I'm going to continue to burn. I'm going to continue to use several strategies over there in Louisiana, to build the cash flow and cash reserves over there.
Definitely. I love it. I love it. And I love it. I love it. I think it's great because, you're going back home and
yeah.
Again, another thing, like, I live in LA. Many people live in expensive markets, and people just stop because they don't like the prices where they're at. However, you can actually invest somewhere else, so that's something that I want to drive home and allow people to know it can be done.
It can and will be done, man. Sam, don't be too afraid. I get this property management company going to come on down to Louisiana with us.
Definitely. So how did you find that first deal? Oh, you mentioned that Lamont had introduced you to someone. Was it like a wholesaler or
So this cat was already in the business, man. This cat had about 40, 50 properties strong at the time. And like it was, you just find a landlord or you find somebody who's kind of tired of managing a property. They don't want anything to do with it. And that can be your first opportunity. And like I talked about, man, I just wanted to mention those words, anxiety and stress, because it comes, man. I would be lying to you guys if I didn't mention it. It came with me staying up at night. And like I said, all the podcasts, all the books I had read, nothing could prepare you for that, because at the end of the day, you want someone to be safe, efficient, and enjoy the home. Those three things are in my bylaws. And, you just want to provide that, especially for your people, your melanated people, when you're directly working with those as well. And so you just want to have a great reputation. You don't want to be deemed as a slumlord, so not having doors, I don't care about having 100 doors if I'm a slumlord, or 100 doors and not having the cash flow, because it sounds nice.
For sure. And how recent was that first purchase?
And I've been in real estate for like 2 years now, 3 years.
Oh, wow. And you said you're at 16, 17?
Yeah, like 17.
Wow. That's so, you had got that first deal. What happened from then? Because that's pretty rapid growth.
We snowballed. So one thing I would want to say to follow up with that question, man, was I'm a multi-unit investor, so I count the doors.
Yeah.
So I was buying duplexes. That's how we did this thing. So yeah, I buy multifamily. I love multifamily for the benefits of having the same roof, same foundational structure. Everything's at that one property. I send my plumber, send the electrician, and so on and so forth. So multifamily.
Definitely. And I know there's seems to be two camps sometimes. So one is like, I'm getting all single family homes, people stay there the longest, yada yada yada. The second are like multi-units. If there's a note on it, one, two tenants can pay, whatever. There are different reasons that people prefer one or the other. Some people do a mix of both. Can you dive a bit deeper into why are you a multifamily investor?
I love multifamily because, like I first pointed out, everything, like all your issues, if you were to have maintenance issues, that's going to be at one property, versus, I'm not speaking down on single families because I got those as well. And so I'll get into that. But, me starting out, I felt like you said, using that strategy, I can pay my bank note with one door and the next door is cash flow. So for me, I'm in real estate for the cash flow. I'm not up to the A-class or D-class property where I just want equity. I need the cash flow right now because I want to keep going. I want to keep scaling. So for me to have all my issues, or to be able to get there to one single property, is great and foundational for me, because at the time, like I said, I didn't have a property management company. I didn't have that type of system in place. I was working towards that. So as an individual, I could know what was going on when I pull up myself when I was coming home, aside from communicating with my tenants. Now I have a mixture of both. We got single families, we got duplexes and things like that. And so, it's really pick your poison. People do stay longer. Sometimes the tenants do get into it. You got pros and cons of both, you know.
Definitely, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I think I like that part of your reasoning is the education piece of it, and it sounds like it was very well thought out, which I think is good.
Yep, yep. We try, man. We try over here. Sam, I think the most important thing, man, is you have to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Every lesson, like, man, when I first got that first duplex, I was like, man, I don't got no property management. Who gonna talk to these people? Who gonna take calls? And I bought that one in Monroe. And like I said, the next month I had purchased my first big one out in Shreveport. So I already had a tenant in it. And then I had to rebuild the entire side. So I got with this contractor, Justin Palmer, out in Shreveport, Louisiana, man, did a great job. Rehabbed the entire side for me, had it looking stellar. And I was able to get somebody in there. Now, believe it or not, man, my real estate agent, Jan Smith out in Shreveport, built my entire business in Shreveport. She introduced me to Justin Palmer, which was the guy to rehab. She introduced me to the electricians, the plumber. She introduced me to a whole nother person. And I later found a lady to property manage it for me. So then once I had that system, like I said, I had been typing, reading. Once I found the pieces and the parts that I needed, because another thing too, you're going to run through a lot of people on your way to the top trying to build it, right? Trying to find good help. And so, I was able to build a system out there as well. And that put me in still a position to scale.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned a couple rehabs. What was it like for you as a new investor, new landlord, rehabbing, particularly being long distance? Like, what was that experience like? Tell us about that.
I mean, man, being a millennial today, we got access to everything. Those mobile phones, man, I can see everything in real time. And, the technology is just, man, you could throw a camera up inside your unit and watch it from 1,000 miles away if you really wanted to, right? And so at the end of the day, it is about trust. See, at the same time, too, you do have to push time. So now that I'm getting older, man, I'm understanding that time is everything, because as Justin goes in, yes, he can be a certified GC, but the time that he turns my unit over so I can begin to make money before I have to pay that loan back was everything, right? He can go in and do great work, but it can't be slow work, right? So he goes in, he rehabs that guy, and I'm still paying back the loan at a minimum rate, and I already got somebody in there, and I'm able to cash flow even more before I have to pay the totality back of that whole loan.
Definitely. That makes sense. And as far as like financing your first deal or first couple deals, was it just kind of, saving up money from the job? Did you, taking like private loans? Like what was that like for you? 'Cause I know a lot of people, something else that holds them back sometimes is just, hey, I don't have money. But obviously there's a lot of creative ways to get it done if you don't have money. So what was your strategy just as far as getting the funds you needed?
Ton of creative ways. I've never used my own money, man.
So I like to hear.
So when people when people sitting on the sideline, while you sitting on the sideline wishing that you can be in the game, you need to be going to these banks in your local market and get what we call lines of credit, right? And I believe, help me out here, Sam, is it 680 or better or 580 or better? 580, 680 or better
Something
will
like
get
that.
you a line of credit, right? And depending on if you got a 700, 800, that's when you get your bigger lines of credit. Now, of course, your DTI, which is debt to income ratio, has to be a bit lower. Make sure you're paying them student loans if you got student loans out there. And the thing about, I tell people, they be like, I can't afford a home, I got student loans. No. Just make sure you're current, right? It comes back green. You're doing your due diligence on your student loans if you got them out there, because lines of credit, which is essentially like a credit card, is how I got into this game. Okay, bet on myself. Now, we traditionally don't do that now, but I bet on myself, and that's how I got in the game. I made my first purchase in Shreveport. I had a $15,000 line of credit. The next day, I spent $12,000 to buy my duplex. But it's paid dividends. I've been able to pay that back, still paying on it now. Currently, 3 years later, still paying on it, but I'm cash flowing into the greater good.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So for those who maybe they're not familiar with like what a line of credit is, could you just kind of give an overview, say what your process was like to obtain it, and how potentially it could work in terms of paying it back and things like that?
Okay. So when I say like a line of credit and betting on yourself, when you go into a bank or you go to a local institution, a bank is a partner. You can look at, other people's money as a partner, whether it be hard money or just a bank. We'll stick with that. So you go in and you say, hey, I want a revolving line of credit, not a loan. Not a loan. You have to start paying back a loan immediately, maybe after a month or something like that. A line of credit is essentially, you can think of it like a credit card. You get approved for a certain amount. Let's say I just went to Regions. I went in, I said, hey, I'd like to apply for a line of credit. They're going to ask me, hey, how much do you want to apply for? I'm going to always say the max. I want the max. So if the max is 50,000, I'm going to apply for 50,000. If it's 25, I'm going to apply for the 25. Your credit and history is going to dictate how much they're going to guarantee you, right? And so they come back and say, hey, Mr. Johnson, we're going to give you 13,000. That's all fine and dandy to me. I take that 13,000. I'll have $13,000 line of credit at Regions until I'm ready to touch it. The first thing that I do is order checks to my line of credit because we do everything in checks in real estate. Don't do anything for cash because you got to keep those transactional receipts for the end of the year. We'll get to that. So once I have my line of credit in place, traditionally we use that for repair costs, right? So we may go into a unit if we got to do some flooring or do some cosmetic work, $500, $600, we'll pay that, out the line of credit. That way it's not directly coming out of your business, and you can let the cash flow from the property, the same 700 that I talked about earlier, pay your line of credit back off. That's one scenario. And the second scenario, which I'm doing now, you can go in and you can purchase a property cash, but it's taken me years to get to this point. And some people, they will get there faster, but I'm just now getting it. I can go in, purchase a property for $7,000, and repair work maybe $4,000, right? So that's 11, right? And so once I got my line of credit, I got that 13, I take that same 11, I go in, I'm all in 11, but then when the bank appraisal comes back, they may say, hey, this property is worth 21,000, I get 80% of that. When I get that 80% $1,000 check, then I'm gonna pay off my line of credit, and then I keep the proceeds to roll it into a new deal.
Got it. I see what you're saying. So, okay, got it. So you'll refinance out, pay that off, and just take that money with part of whatever was refinanced in addition to that, and just kind of repeating the process.
Rinse and repeat, snowball it.
I love it, man. I love it. It's creativity. It's creativity.
Yeah.
Like you gotta. I think it's very important, just in general, for people to just think about. Maybe you don't have it, but somebody else does. Whether it's a person, whether it's a bank. There are so many different ways to get it and to structure deals and to fund them. So I really appreciate you just diving into the line of credit thing. And how did you even find out about that? Were you just kind of digging? Did somebody suggest it to you? Because it's not like, I never heard about a line of credit until I was in maybe a few years ago. So it's not really something that's talked about amongst us. So how did you find out about it?
All credit to Lamont Woods, man. He cracked the code, and that's what I'm saying. Let me tell you something, man. Having a power circle when you don't know something, going to these real estate meetups, okay? Getting into these forums on the Facebooks and IGs, get out and meet people. Don't be afraid to ask the embarrassing questions. It's only embarrassing if you don't ask the question. He went and cracked the code. We figured it out. And from that point, man, you got to sauce it up. And like I'm saying, I'm only explaining one strategy, man. We got about 4 It depends on what the house calls for. That's what we're going to use, when we talk about in terms of making deals. So that's how I first heard of line of credit. So I tell you what, I was out an entire year before I got into real estate. I had maybe like $35,000 in lines of credit ready to go.
Wow.
So like I said, while you sitting at home, I'm educating my god sister right now. Like, while you're not in real estate, you still can be going to these banks applying while you're just sitting at home. You're not doing nothing. It's been Corona. Shout out to all the Corona victims and things like that. Heart go out to you guys. But when you sitting at home and you quarantine and call these banks, and just apply. I just got another line of credit from Wood Forest, in Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
The Wood Forest branch. I don't know if you heard of it, but I got like a $2,000 line of credit from them. I've been with them since I was in high school and college. I was like, wait, do y'all give lines of credit? They're like, yeah. I'm like, let me get that. So I got 2,000 from them. So
definitely, man. I think that's awesome. So what other strategies do you use?
So you got the BRRRR strategy, then you got the refinance strategy, and so owner financing. Okay, I'll give you a real life deal.
Yeah.
We just bought this single property in Milton. it's called Milton on Milton Street in Shreveport, Louisiana, right directly behind the high school. We was able to get this cat, get this, $1,000 down. He gave us the deed to it. We put about $3,000 of work into it, and it refinanced for $38,000.
Wow. Tell us how. Tell us. My eyes are going out of my head.
Yeah, man. So my cousin Emmanuel Baker, that's my partner. I'm Magnolia Johnson.
Oh, I didn't know it was your cousin.
Yeah, he's
That's
Pratica
crazy.
States. Yeah, he's
Got you.
Pratica States, man. But we have a company together called Owl Investments.
Got it.
And it's because we're from Owl Street in Monroe, Louisiana.
Got you.
So he was able to strike this deal with this guy, man. He went in and negotiated owner financing, you know. And owner financing should be the first thing that an investor thinks, because it's the cheapest route. You're not on the books and things like that. So we was able to get this cat. We gave him $1,000 down, and we had to make payments about $250 a month. So we went in, but he gave us the deed to it. So what we did was we took that deed, we assessed how much work that we needed to put into it, and it was about 5,000, I think. So I misspoke, but it was about 5,000. So we all in 6. The guy wanted 24,000 for it, okay? But we refinanced it at 38. So everybody's happy. He gets a payday. We get a payday. The unit is nice, pristine. We get a tenant in it, cash flowing. You know what, I think about $300 a month, and we go on down the road to the next.
Wow, that's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah.
It's just straight creativity, man. So you started off with the duplex, and was that in Shreveport or Monroe?
Both. I bought them a month apiece.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. And then
so I had 4 doors in like 2 months.
Got you. So talk to us about kind of, I guess, so between like 4 and then going over 10, I think you said you're 16, 17 now. How did all that happen? Was it kind of just like a snowball effect? Like one deal came and then just kept coming?
That's exactly it, man. What I want to speak to, and I want to lay the word down, is delayed gratification. You know, man, keeping your head down, us just figuring out these deals, man. Doing what we had to do, and like you said, you have to be creative. An investor is a creative mind. You know, we speak about the $10 job and the $8 job. You want the $100 job. So that's why you cannot be afraid holding on to your dollar. It was a famous lady on a podcast that said, never trip over pennies for dollars, right? I think her name was Nicole. I cannot remember her last name, but you go out here, man, and you want to, you got some investors who they bang those nails just to save a dollar, but in reality, you working a $15 an hour job, whereas you need to be in a $50 or $100 job, scaling and trying to understand how to be creative and deal so you can go out and get more. And instead, you hire someone to go ahead and do that and do your maintenance portion while you're at the high level, steady bringing in business for your company to grow and scale.
For sure. Man, I'm just impressed. Like 2 years to accomplish what you've accomplished, I think it says a lot. You can just have an idea, get into it, and you get the first one, and it seems as though everything is just kind of come after that. So I think that's really dope, man.
Yeah, we got to get 150 doors, man. Me and Emmanuel not stopping no time soon. We just really getting started. Like I said, we just really getting to the cash piece. Now we catching up with Lamont. Lamont's already a millionaire status. He's already a rock star. I mean, you can't go into Monroe without saying his name. He owns it, and so we're trying to make our name like Jeremy Taylor out in Shreveport. He's a heavy fish out there. We're just trying to get our name in the market, so we just trying to catch up with these guys,
For sure. Talk to me. So thankfully, I've had pretty much all your boys on the podcast, which is great. And I like the fact, I think it's great. I like the fact that the state of Louisiana is getting exposure, because it's not a place people talk about a lot, especially when you consider real estate opportunities. But obviously, through all of you, we see that there's actually a lot of opportunity there. So Can you talk to me about where you see the market going? So in Shreveport, Monroe, and just everywhere where you're considering investing in, what do you think the future looks like?
Let's talk about it, man. Let's really dive into it, and I'll give you some more sauce too. So when you talk about investing in a real estate, remember I alluded to earlier, man, I never liked politics. I still don't. But it's unfortunate, man, when you invest, you have to know what's going on. you got to pick up that paper. And so I'm a long distance investor, right? So I got to pick up the Shreveport Times, or I got to pull up something to see what's happening. What are the jobs? So what made me what made Shreveport very sexy to me was the casinos. People will always have jobs. Something will always be going on. So that market and economy will always support itself no matter what. So it was a healthy market for me to invest in because I never lived in Shreveport. I'm not from there. I'm from Monroe.
How far is it from Monroe?
About an hour and a half.
Okay.
About an hour and a half. But of course, I got to pass through that coming back to Dallas every time I go home Monroe. So it's a straight shot. So within the Monroe market wasn't as hot, but we just got a new mayor. And things are beginning to change. And then you're reading about all these programs that are about to come out. So I know the word gentrification with our melanated people is dangerous and we hate it. But when you're on the right side of it, it can be frugal for you. And not only that, when you got the knowledge to do it, you can gentrify your own area yourself. And I'll give you the sauce on the back end of that. So with us in our power group, we call it NFL a real estate building. And so now I've ventured off and I've become a land shark. And now I'm looking for land to build. Wow. So I've already purchased my first plot of land. I've already pulled together a deal. So it's just a matter of time to see how things shake out. And I'll be building homes now.
Wow, that's big, man. In Shreveport?
In Monroe. I'll start out in Monroe, but I already got plans and I already got the guy, that same guy, Justin Palmer, that same relationship 3 years ago that was invested and started. Me and this guy had jumped off the bridge in Shreveport and began building as well. So we're in Monroe right now as a test bed. Once we get this done, we go through this project. We'll take the same thing, the same iteration, same thing, and move it right to Shreveport.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Are you at liberty to share kind of what the plans are for the land? Or is that still something you got to keep under wraps for now?
Nah, man, I don't keep nothing from my people. I'm blessed. And that's something that we expose in our circle. We'll never keep it from anyone. It's simple. I went the adjudicator route. Now, for a normal person, you would want to just get in contact with a person who owns the land, who's not doing anything with it. And that's typical, guys. You know, you can ride around in the summer, high grass and things like that. You know, just do your research like the wholesalers would. Get in contact with wholesalers. You know, say, hey, I want to buy this land. And, you know, you come up with a price and try to purchase that land. So from that process, I went the adjudicator route, which is land that the city owns, that they've seized and things like that, and I get it for cheap. I paid $100 for this plot of land.
How big is it?
It's like 0.15 acres or something. It's not that big. It's just it's a
$100.
$100.
That is incredible, man.
but you got to consider it's Louisiana too, man. So that's why I keep telling you, like, I'm never leaving that place. I'm gonna get rich in that place. You know, Lamont's already a millionaire. Jeremy's already on his way to being a millionaire. Pierce Cooper as well. So, but with that being said, so I got the adjudicator process coming down. So I purchased the land for $100. So I take that land. I've already researched the tax assessor's website, and they told me that land is worth $4,500. So the land is worth $4,500. I'll own it outright. From there, I take it to the bank because the bank is my partner, right? And so when I go to the bank, I say, hey, banker, I would like to do this with this. I ordered my plans off of eBay for $25.
Wow.
I ordered my spec house off of eBay for $25. So you can go to eBay, you can go to Google, you can type in whatever your mind and heart desires of what you want to build. And from that point, you got to go through the city ordinances, which, you know, you'll go through a couple of loops, but to get things tapered off, so you got to get your blueprints signed off on by professionals of the city, clearing it. Once we do that, we've already got the subs from the degrassers to the electrician to plumbers to roofers, sheetrockers. And so you take that, you got to take that. So I call it scope of work, or a SAL. You take that to your banker. Once you take that to your banker, but that's all he needs to know. He just needs to see the blueprints and how much it's going to cost. And then he's going to tell you if he can finance it or not. But you let that same land that you own, that $4,500 will go down towards a down payment. Okay, so it's just like a house. We take that land though and use that as the down payment to get us into our first project and breaking ground.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Are you looking to build a multifamily on there, single family?
We're going to do a single family spec home on that guy. But, you know, for me, once we start getting big, like I said, it's a test bed. I'm trying it out, guys. This hasn't happened. This is the plan. Things are happening, you know, but it may fall through, but that's the plan. And I'm not going to stop till it happens between me.
Yeah.
But, when I get a bigger plot of land, I would like to build duplexes. So that's what I'm talking about. Gentrifying. I can go in and build my own communities now. And so now I'm putting duplexes side by side each other. I can see it Because at first, when I was a young kid, I couldn't see how you even rehab the house. But I can stand on some land with my feet and see an entire neighborhood.
That's powerful, man. That is so powerful, man. Wow. I'm just blown away, man, because in 2 years you got to this point, and now you're at you at a place where, like, you know what? I want to take my contacts, I want to take my resources, everything I've learned, and now I want to rebuild my community myself. You know,
That's
I
it.
want to add beautiful homes and things of that nature to myself. And you know, if you can, once you do this successfully in your hometown, like you said, you can replicate it all over. You can replicate it in Shreveport. You can replicate it all across the state, all across the country, just from that one experience. So I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to see how that grows and the finished product. That's powerful, man.
Most definitely, man. I appreciate it.
For sure, for sure. So you spoke about that aspect. What else do you see for the future for you and Emmanuel and just everything you're doing real estate wise?
Well, you know, man, Emmanuel's a rock star, man. And traditionally, man, to be honest with you, I don't really do podcasts. That he's the face. Man, young 24, he had 17 properties as well. A few outside in his own LLC, and this cat just opened up a restaurant. I don't know if he talked to
Yeah.
you about. Yeah, this kid. We went to the grand opening, man. This cat just opened up a restaurant. So to be honest with you, man, after real estate, it'll be trucking for me, or I would get into daycares. And so I definitely want to expand it. Whichever one comes first, I'm not pressing it, but I need to be all that I can be in real estate, focusing on this solely first. So once I build this platform and I begin to master it, then I'll roll on to the next venture, which would be trucking or opening a daycare.
Love it, man. Love it. How and so do you think you'll ever get anything in Dallas? Like, do you see yourself there for a while, or what are you thinking as far as that right now?
I got a pretty okay property out here in Dallas, man.
Yeah.
That's why I bought my first home, by the way.
Oh,
So
got
this
you.
is where
Okay.
I purchased my first home out here
Yeah.
in Dallas. I was able to do that. Now I've rolled into the second home. I'm at the second home. So this market, to be honest with you, I don't know it all. And I just don't know enough about this market. But like I keep saying, the numbers for me in this market just do not, it's uncomfortable for me. How about that?
Got you. That's
Coming
great.
from where I'm coming from. It's just like me going to LA. I'm not buying nothing out there.
Yeah.
Because it's where we come from. Now, had I come from LA like to you, you like $100. That's ridiculous to you, right? But that's what we're used to. I'll tell you what, that first duplex that I bought in Monroe, Louisiana, okay? $26,000. My property taxes on that place is $100 a year.
Wow.
Period. Okay. Out here in Dallas, my first property that I bought was $180,000 new build, $5,000 property tax. That was ridiculous to me, right? But that's the nature of the game. And so for me, like I said, it's all about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So if I ever made a play out here in Dallas, it'll probably have to be equity, right? And that's what I'm getting, because I'm a C class, D class investor now. But when you talk about B class and they like out here in Dallas, in my mind, it already crossed my mind. I wouldn't want to do anything but flip out here.
Makes
Because
sense.
I know you can get great deals. You know, I would like to flip, and I met a millionaire who did build his own community already. So maybe, you know, there's room for that. You know, maybe I get more money. It's just, it has to make sense for the money with the play that I'm trying to make. I'll say that. But I can't say that I'll never invest here. That's gonna come, just not now.
Definitely. I feel it. I feel it, man. So I know you recently had a backpack giveaway. So can you talk more about that and just, you know, what you're doing in the community? You know, I can tell that's something that's very important to you. So I would love for us to spend some time on that as well.
Yeah, man. So I got a nonprofit organization called Strive for Success, predicated with sports and youth in the community, but also rolling it into education, eating and nutrition. Shout out to my team members, Kiyomi Scobie, Whitney Jackson, Shereen, Deshaun Johnson. And so they help me get out there in the community, man. And every year I'm gonna have a football camp, I'm gonna have a book bag drive, and I'm gonna give away a scholarship. I always said that to myself. Those three things have to happen, and if we can do more, great. But those three things are a staple of what Strive for Success provides. So this year, man, we were able to serve about 150 families. We had a drive-through, like a parade. You know, they were doing all these graduation parades. So I came up with the idea that we can do a parade because, you know, we weren't able to physically go out and touch and things like that. Usually I have a back-to-school badge. Man, water jumpers everywhere, food, contests, water balloons. I usually blow it out, music and stuff like that. But because of, you know, the times that we have now, we did a parade. And so it's always on my heart, man. Like I said, I can't sit here and justify making money and things like that without giving it back to the place that I come from.
For sure, for sure. I think it's great. A lot of people, you know, they leave home and they forget about home. They forget that there are still people who can who are in need and who can use the access they have to resources and things of that nature. So salute to you for doing that. I'm sure, you know, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference in the community.
So for me, man, another piece of that is, man, I always want kids to be able to touch me. By day, I'm an engineer.
Mhm.
And, on the side, and I wear that title so kids can touch me, because coming from the poverty-stricken areas of where we come from, man, they don't see that all the time. And so I was never able to see my engineers. I was never able to touch doctors. You can touch me. I'm real. And I come from the same place that they come from, letting them know that they too can strive for success.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Just out of curiosity, what kind of engineering do you practice?
So I'm a systems engineer.
Okay. What is
Yeah.
I don't know too much about engineering, so what does that mean for like a novice? Systems
So,
engineering.
so systems engineering basically is a person that touches hardware, software, like you build a system to work together like a car, right?
Got it.
A car has an exhaust system, it has, your battery, your electrical system. So it's about putting a bunch of systems together. So what I do is I work on the hardware, and I get into software that commands the hardware and tells it what to do. And I also do
Mm,
some sysadmin work for the people that I work with as well. So a system engineering, just putting it all together. And so you see how that translates into business and creating and developing systems.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I like it, man. Um, I think it's very interesting how, and I think this is something some people have a hard time understanding. Some people feel like you can't have a 9 to 5 and build your businesses at the same time. When in fact, if you have the right 9 to 5, or anyone really, there are skills you can take from that 9 to 5 that will help to grow your business. And then, eventually you get to a point where you can pick and choose what you want to do. But I like that you are using that to build your business, man. I think that's something a lot more of us should do. Because hey, some people like 9 to 5, some people don't, but I read somewhere, I forgot what book it says, it's like you work to learn, not work to earn. And if you're learning stuff that's complementary to what you want to do outside, I think that's kind of the best of both worlds.
Always, man. And that's it, right, Sam? Right. We're not gonna get into the excuses of saying you don't have a 9 to 5. You're there to learn. And for the people that's out there that hate their jobs, let that be the motivation. But don't forget the key factor that you are there to learn. You can learn a lot, whether it's bad people, whether it's bad systems, whether it's a bad operation. You get into these companies and let that company teach you before you get out here on your own, because the worst thing that you can do is jump out here without a plan. B, C, and D. We always thinking A first, right? And so what happens when it doesn't work? What happens, like I said, I had to figure this out, saying, like, how am I going to take phone calls when I'm trying to fill these vacancies throughout the day? I have to go hire someone because I'm not leaving my job. Well, okay, I maybe can't go to Atlanta this week. I maybe can't travel to such and such because I have to pay this person on a payroll. But how much money does that return me in December, right? And so we have to see the long-term plan where we're making these strategies, and once again, delayed gratification and sacrifices.
For sure, man. What are some challenges you've experienced over the past couple of years as you've just grown the portfolio? What are some of the lessons that you've learned that come to mind?
Ah, man, some of the troubles that we had. Where do I start?
Wherever you want.
we just recently had a tenant almost burn down our duplex, man. And that's another con of having
What you said?
neighbors.
What?
We just recently had a tenant almost burn down our duplex,
Oh,
with another tenant inside it. They started a fire, but they was able to put it out, and the soot got into the walls of the place. But that's why you have insurance, and you get cut $10,000+ checks to repair it. You're protecting yourself. And I mean, I'll just go back to my first story, man. My first duplex. My first duplex, man. The lady had repairs that she needed to have happen. I didn't even have a maintenance man. Like I didn't have a maintenance man. I didn't know how to navigate that. So it took me on my free times on my weekend trying to find a great carpenter in the area to repair this place for this lady, man. She exposed me, man. She put me out on the internet, said I was a slumlord. And my aunt, That same aunt, man, she chewed me out for a week tops, man. I'm talking about she gave me the blues, and rightfully so, because she wanted me to do it the right way and to continue to build the right way. So I was able to take that lesson, and that drove me forward.
Much respect, much respect. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you go through those things, but the most important part is that you learn from it. So that's
Right.
good. Does that
Yep.
tenant still live there?
Huh?
Does that tenant still live there?
Oh no, man, that was my first tenant ever. Oh no, we got out of there, man. We got out of there quickly. Oh yeah, man, we got out of there quickly. But she helped me, adapt later on to a lot of things that we see. And like I said, investing in C and D class property, man, you're gonna get what we call jumpers. And then, man, with this Corona thing, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother segment, man. Like,
how's that
to be able,
impacted the business?
what? Oh man, for tenants to get unemployment and not pay their rent, and for me to still have to put maintenance on the building, still have to go in and do those type of things, it was heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, man. But we were able to survive, and still, because we still in it. We were able to survive and still kind of walk through the things. So I can say that real estate can be recession-proof if you buy it at the right price.
Yeah. Definitely. I like that, man. I like that.
Yeah.
Are there any books or resources that you would recommend for people? I know you mentioned like you taking a lot of information and learn a lot. Are there any suggestions or recommendations that you like to make to our listeners?
I know, listeners, that this is going to sound cliche, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the Holy Grail in the Bible. You got to start there, and I went from there to The Richest Man in Babylon, to Think and Grow Rich. Oh, I love Napoleon. You got to listen to him too. I just tightened up on 48 Laws of Power. I read the second book, Cash Flow Quadrant, by Robert Kiyosaki. I got the next book in here. I'm trying to think about it now. I'm about to start a new book. It's not The Richest Man of Babylon. I just read that one. I got it right here in the next room. But a ton of podcasts. I can't tell you how many hours. Your podcast.
I appreciate
Started
that,
with
man.
your podcast. Yeah,
Wow.
man,
Thank
bigger
you,
pockets. Yeah, man, you got to study, and you can always learn. You're never too big to learn it, even though we out now. Now we just starting to see a lot of money. But, man, the books are so important, and you got to keep reaching. Books, it's really true. What they say, if you want to hide some from us, some of us, I don't like to put us all in there, but some of us then, put it in a book. But when you really read these books, they give you knowledge that people wouldn't even tap into because they don't want to put forth the effort.
Definitely. Is there anything that you want to leave with our listeners? Any last things you want to share or that they should know?
I would say this, man, never be afraid to jump off. You will never be ready. Don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. If it was for me, man, my aunt, with so much influence that she had, she gave me a hard time about getting into real estate the right way. And it kind of made me afraid. And I want to sit here at 17, plus doors saying, hey, man, I still got a lot to learn. You will always have things to learn and ways to scale. So don't be afraid. That's the biggest thing, is just getting started, and never think that you know it all. Don't become superiority and treat people inferior, because that's not going to work, because those same relationships will carry you later.
Absolutely. And people want to talk to you, connect with you further. Where can they reach you?
Man, you can reach me on IG at Strive for Success 59. Strive, the number 4, Success 59. I'm on Facebook, Derrick Johnson. You can email me, Strive, the number 4, Success 2011 at yahoo.com. I even give you my business phone number is 318-348-4940. You can shoot me a text. I don't mind helping anyone, man. I just gave you some plays today that people got to pay for.
You did, man. You dropped some gems today, man.
But man,
appreciate it.
I just feel like, with your great podcast and putting this information all over the country, man, we got to band together, man, and we talk about group economics. This is the way to get there. Sharing information. It starts with us sharing. We're not going to be like some of those OGs where we garden information and we want all the shine. That's not what we're about.
Definitely. 100% agree. But yeah, man, I think this is a great story that's not over yet. And yeah, you dropped a lot of game. I think it's very relatable to people, and there's a whole lot of strategies that can be learned, creativity, right, and so much. So, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing knowledge with the people, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. Shout out to you, man, and keep doing what you're doing. We need more people like you.
For sure, for sure. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you all soon.